Hey gang, welcome back to another video. Now as we get ready to set up our haunt, there's always some things that I find need a bit of repair. So in this video, I'll show you how to fix the failing paint on your tombstones with things that you already have around the house. So let's get into it. Before we can get into the fix, we have to address the ugly truth and peel away all the chipping and failing paint. This tombstone is a few years past needing to be repaired, and so small cracks have turned into large missing chunks of paint that come off with hardly any effort. But I'll also use this opportunity to pick away at any area that looks like it may have delaminated from the foam and will be likely to peel in the not too distant future. That way I can ensure that the remaining paint is still making a good bond and can act as an anchor point for my repairs. Once I've removed all the loose paint, I'll use a chip brush to knock off any dust from the tombstone to ensure a clean surface. Then I can get to sealing the exposed foam and edges of the remaining paint, and for that I'll be using some waterproof PVA glue. The PVA glue will get brushed on and really worked into the surface of the foam to help seal it from the elements, and to give me a better surface for paint to adhere to in a future step. I'll also try to push the glue under the remaining paint edges to help it better bond to the foam. All of this is done in hope that I can create a waterproof seal that will stop or at least slow down future paint delamination. Once all of the exposed foam and paint edges have been coated in glue, I'll set it out in the sun to dry and will apply a second coat to catch any areas that I may have missed. When the glue was dry and it looked like the bare foam was sufficiently coated with the PVA glue, it was time for paint. As I do with all my tombstones, I'm using Drylok Original Masonry Sealer, partly because of its weather resistance, but also because it's got a sandy, stone-like texture, which will be helpful in blending the seams between areas with and without paint. As an added bonus, because Drylok goes on thick, you could easily apply additional coats to build up to the original paint thickness to even more closely match the previous application. I should note that you don't want to go too heavy with your paint application right out of the gate, as you run the risk of trapping the moisture in the paint. This moisture can turn into steam, which will cause the paint to lift and bubbles to form in your finish, and those bubbles will eventually crack, putting you back at square one of this process. So take it from me and go with multiple even coats to avoid all the potential problems. One thing that I don't want to do while I'm painting is fill in the epitaph. Thankfully, a small roller will make quick time of painting the face of the tombstone without too much paint getting into the recesses that would require me to reapply the darker paint into the epitaph. And any areas that do get filled in can be touched up with a chip brush and should darken when I apply the weathering. With the tombstone completely recoated, I set it out in the sun to dry for a few hours, and then could move on to weathering. Thankfully, I've never been happy with the aging on this particular tombstone, so I'm looking forward to the opportunity to give it another go. Just like in my previous tombstone video, I've mixed some black, brown, and green acrylic paint with water and put it into a spray bottle. I also have a second spray bottle of just water that I'll use to wet down the surface of the tombstone, which will not only help the paint wash move more easily, but will keep the paint from drying out too soon. I'll apply the weathering in multiple passes, starting with an overall dusting of paint, and once that's dried, can go back and apply more targeted applications in an attempt to create interesting drips and runs along the face of the tombstone. Now, it was a warm day when I did this, so the amount of time between layers was relatively short. And when I thought I had good coverage, I set it to dry, and here's what it looks like the following day. Even up close, you can hardly tell where the repairs have been made, and overall I'm pleased with the new weathering. Of course, I could always go back and apply more of the dark wash, or even a lighter wash to give it even more personality. But at this point, I'm running out of time and we set up our haunt in less than a week. So I'm going to call this one done. Now, rather than starting from scratch, I'll get another decade out of this tombstone from just a bit of glue and paint. And when you're haunting on a budget, it's pretty hard to beat. That's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. But most importantly, go make something.